Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel and Merry Christmas! So if you want to give a gift to a beginner photographer or you are a beginner photographer that want to spend your grandma's gift of cash, this is the video for you. So let's do this. So let's start with the list that I checked twice and so on. Let's start with 5-in-1 reflectors. These things are pretty damn cool and the bigger the better. Sometimes they are way too big, and usually on these 5-in-1s reflectors you have the gold reflector so then if you don't want to have reflections or remove light, you can use the black matte here, and if you open this you can check out that there is the silver reflector, okay, usually the white reflector as well. If you invert this, and you have a diffuser for the light. Oh yeah. So the next item, it's a shutter release, but a special one. I have here from the Trigger Trap, that is a brand that disappeared with time, but the new ones are still as good. Now what this does is that you plug the cable to your camera and this plugs in your phone jack. If it doesn't have it, you have to have the jack adapter to USB-C on your smartphone, but these things are great and it's way cooler than shutter release because you can do amazing things like distance time-lapse, high-speed photography, based in sound. This is really cool. The next item is a really cool thing. It's actually a battery charger. And you go like, really? What's special about this? Is a universal battery charger. You can charge AAA batteries and AA batteries as well. And you have these two pins that makes charging different brands of batteries really simple. Like 99% of the batteries can use this system over here. One thing to pay attention a little bit is if it has a car charger, because if you want a universal battery charger, you want to charge it everywhere. Really cool purchase, especially for photographers that travels a lot. Now the next item is a camera bag. From my experience, I really like the K&F camera bags. They have cheap options, but mine is low pro. They are quite expensive, but yeah, depending on the price you can get a pretty damn good deal with K&F camera bags. Camera strap from Peak Design. So I'm not talking about specific brands, but Peak Design have a really cool design in camera straps. And this thing is almost a must-have for photographers that do time lapses or videos or uses the tripod a lot. This gets in the way, so you just buy a small thing like this and you can put it in and unlock it as easy as this, just using one hand. This is really cool. And the new design, actually, it's thinner than this, so yeah. Next up is umbrellas. Now, if you want to get in fashion photography or portrait photography, usually have umbrellas help you a lot with a soft light, and there is a very cheap options and quite good options. So this is the one that I have from New Rare and it's quite big. Check this out. You have this huge umbrella and soft filter inside, so the light it's smooth, nice and smooth. The bad thing about this that usually they don't come with stands. Now you can get cheaper ones, probably even two of them that come with the stands, and smaller umbrellas with no filter, but hey, they are pretty damn good. Next up, a cleaning kit. These things are pretty damn handy because you're gonna use it a lot, especially if you photograph a lot outdoors. So your sensor, your lenses can get a little bit dirty and you're gonna need a cleaning kit. Next, a GorillaPod. These things are so much fun to use. They are pretty damn good value for what you can get. So this can hold a microphone, a camera, a point and shoot, lights, whatever, because it has a standard connection on the top and you can put it almost anywhere. with this rubber feet and stuff like that. The smaller ones has magnetic tips that really cool. So yeah, depending on the weight and how big is your camera, check these things out. They are pretty damn cool. Next, a boom stick. Imagine this as hardcore selfie sticks that you can do a bunch of stuff with this. They are meant to use microphones, like the big microphones that you can open like so and hold with a mic guide. That's why we call it boomstick. And these things are really cheap and really tough. So I use it for a lot of stuff. So sometimes to hold a camera as a monopod, sometimes to hold a microphone or a light or whatever. These things are really handy, really tough, and really cool to have. Especially if you have a 360 camera, these things are awesome, okay? Now, next is lights. Now, you can choose really cheap ones like the ones that I am using now. And let me just shut that down. And these lights are reasonably good. It uses the Sony battery, old battery stuff in the back. I am using a power cord. They are cheap because they don't come with the cable or the batteries. So they are cheap because of that. But if you have a little bit more than 50 euros, I advise to go with a little bit more expensive light. For example, the one that I have on the back, this one. So this one has a bunch of effects inside of it, and it is the Pixel G1S video light, and you have a bunch of options like effects and colors and all of that, and no need to external battery. As you can see, it has an internal battery, and you have a bunch of options. So this goes a little bit expensive than the other ones, but you have good cheap options that come with the stand, with some light gels, and usually 2 of them. So pretty damn good value. If you want to see the review of this one, yeah, link is up there or up there. Up there. Next up is extension tubes. If you don't have the money to buy a lens dedicated to macro, because, well, usually they are very expensive, extension tubes are the solution. You can get really creative, and they are really cheap because there is no glass inside of it. It will lose a little bit of quality when you use them, but not that much because they don't have any glass inside of it. So that's a good thing. But pay special attention to the connection of the camera, because if you get the wrong one, it won't work with your camera. And see if they have the contact pins inside of it, so the camera will communicate with the lens. That is very important. Next up on my magic bag here is a magic arm. These things are way more handy than I expected. So I use this thing a lot to put light, microphones, cameras, whatever. But this one, this magic arm, has a really cool thing that it came with a clamp. So this clamp has some rubber inside, so you won't scratch anything, and it can apply a lot of pressure. These 2 things combined are really cool. And it has 2 ball heads. It's really cool. And one of the last things is Speedlite flash. Now, this is my Canon Speedlite flash. This thing can get expensive. Why? Because it has these pins to communicate with the camera. So ATTL will work with your Canon camera. There is other flashes that work with a bunch of different brands, and you have usually 2 branches of Speedlights like that. Around 50 bucks flash, this one, okay, and you have around 25-30 bucks flash like this one. What is the main difference is that this thing has way more options than this one. Now, this one can zoom, so that means that the angle of light shooting can get narrower or wider, and it's in millimeters on this LCD screen. As you can see, this one doesn't have any LCD screen, but these ones are really cool to start photography, beauty photography, fashion photography, whatever, or model photography, because they are really cheap and you can control the power here, and it has slave mode. So let me just explain what slave mode is. Let me just turn it on, as so. And what slave mode can do is remote shoot with the flash of your camera. So I'm gonna use this really dandy small camera, and as you can see is in slave mode S1. Depending on the camera, you're gonna choose S1 or S2. Really simple, powerful flashes, and yeah, really cool. Another thing that I advise in it's really cool is this radio. Usually they come in pairs, and these things are pretty damn cool because you can put on the top of your camera and remote shoot your camera flash. That is really great. And also you can use this as a distant shutter release. This can go all the way to 200 meters of distance and still work. So let me just show you a cool thing that you can do with a really simple thing like this. As you can see, we are backlighted here, but it's no problem because we're gonna photograph in HDR mode. So the camera will take 3 pictures really fast. So we have the details on the clouds and we have the details on the mountains. That camera can do 2-second shutter release or 10-second shutter release, but you cannot run all this difficult terrain and go far like that in 10 seconds. So for that, I'm gonna use this really cheap shutter release. It's actually a flash synchronizer, shutter release, whatever. Is as this thing has a really long range, I'm gonna climb to the mountain over there and take a selfie. Let's go. Just remember to not move too much. There you go. Yeah, they are really cheap and they could be really handy. And there you go. A list that I checked it twice to beginner photographers that costs less than 50 bucks. Drop a like if you learned something, comment down below if you have any questions, and subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this. I am Miguel, until next time, see ya.